Hello friends, it's Lisa and welcome to my bullet journal setup for the month of March. So this month I decided to do a butterfly theme. I have never done a butterfly theme, at least I don't think I have, which feels kind of surprising. It feels like a theme that is, I don't want to say basic, but it just seems like one I would have done by now, but I haven't. And so I decided to do that this month. I thought it'd be a really fun, bright, and just like happy theme. And this month, I also branched out because in the years past, in years previously, every year I've been bullet journaling. In the month of March, I normally do a sort of green color palette. I incorporate the color green in some way. And this year is finally the year I didn't do a green theme in March. I know. I thought about it. I tried to make these butterflies green, but I just didn't really find any green markers that I really liked. I just didn't like the way the butterflies looked when they were green for some reason. So this year it's very purple. It's all like purple and like a bit of yellow. It's like a really pale yellow. And I just really like the way it looks. I am not like the biggest purple fan, but I do think it works really well with this like butterfly theme. And I think it's just like a very happy theme and the purple really adds to that. So yeah, as you can see for this title page, I drew a couple different butterflies. I kind of throughout all of the spreads draw some at different sizes, and I also sometimes draw them like from the side, like you were looking at them from the side, just to add a bit of variety. And on the actual butterflies, like on the wings for the butterflies, I kind of draw the same pattern on every single butterfly that I draw. It was just easy to kind of repeat the same thing. I kind of got into this groove of drawing the same pattern on the wings each time, but I do switch up which markers and like which shades of purple I use on the different parts of the wings. And for the butterflies as well, I only use 3 different colored markers. So I use a slightly darker purple, a like more lavender light purple, and then I also have that like pale yellow type of shade. And that's really what I use to color in all of the butterflies throughout the spreads this month. I also drew some little like flower doodles across the page as well, just to kind of fill in some of that white space, just to add to the spread a little bit more. I also draw some like gray dashes to make it look like that was the pattern that the butterfly flew in, if that makes sense. And then I also am just drawing March and all of the headers for the month in this very like simple cursive font. And then that is the title for this month done. All right, next we're going to be doing my calendar page. So for the actual calendar, I'm using this gray marker to outline all of the boxes, and then I do some purple headers up at the top for the days of the week, and then I go in with the darker purple marker to actually number the days of the month, and I just kind of keep the calendar pretty simple, kind of use the colors that I've been using throughout all of the spreads so far, and I really just want to keep it basic so that I have plenty of space to write down any events or anything that I need to, any YouTube videos going up on any dates, anything like that. I'd like my calendar to be pretty empty just so I have space for that. But speaking of having space on my calendar to write videos that are going to be going up throughout the month, definitely let me know if you have any ideas for things that I can do, any video ideas you have for me you'd like to see me do in the month of March or just in general, because I'd love to hear your ideas and your suggestions. I do feel like March can sometimes be a bit of a rough month for me, especially like I've noticed with my YouTube channel. One, because I think a lot of my beginning of the year videos, I've done a lot of them, so now it's like, okay, now what? And also I feel like just in general, like March, I start to feel pretty slumpy in general, just like in life. So let me know if you have any ideas so that if I'm lacking in creativity or inspiration, I can look to some of those ideas and do something that you all want to see. But yeah, after actually finishing the calendar, I just wrote March up at the top, and I'm now once again drawing some butterflies, again, different sizes, different angles, just kind of adding some variety to the actual butterflies that I'm drawing over and over throughout all of these spreads. And while we watch me finish up my calendar page for the month, I'd love to know if you have anything fun or exciting happening in the month of March, anything you got going on. I know personally in my family and like with my friends, I know a lot of people that have March birthdays. So I'm imagining I'm going to be celebrating birthdays with friends and family this month, but I'm also really excited for the Daisy Jones and the 6 TV show to come out. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. I did a reread of Daisy Jones in February and it was so good, and I just feel like the show is going to be so incredible. It looks really amazing by all the pictures and trailers we've seen, so very excited about that. And I'm also excited for season 2 of Shadow and Bone, which is a show that I also have read the books for, and I'm very excited to see what they do with season 2. But yeah, I would love to know if you have any fun plans, anything you're looking forward to in the month of March. But with that calendar spread done, we can now move on to my next spreads, which is going to be my habit tracker and also a mood tracker. So this month I decided to switch it up on how I was doing this page. I feel like this year I really do want to experiment with doing some different things in my bullet journal, just so I can test out different things, because I feel like last year I got very much stuck doing the same things over and over again. So for the actual habit tracker, I kind of did it in this like column sort of vibe. I don't know, I didn't do the mini calendars like I typically do, and so I'm just writing the actual habits on the left hand side, and then in that white like empty box there's technically 32 boxes, I just won't use one, and whenever I do that habit I will just color in one of the boxes. It's kind of a more like simplistic, I guess, way of doing a habit tracker, and I don't know, I just like to switch it up, sometimes do different habit trackers just to change it up. But I also on this page decided to include a mood tracker. So for the actual mood tracker, I've seen a few people do this kind of mood tracker with a butterfly theme where you draw out the butterfly and each detail within the wings is a day, it correlates with a certain day. But I specifically got inspiration from Martha's journal, so I will have their Instagram linked below. So yeah, I just drew a butterfly with all of the same details that I'd been drawing on the butterflies in this theme previously, and I just left it blank instead of coloring anything in, except I do color in some parts with a like light gray marker just to kind of fill in the spots that I don't need to fill in for the mood tracker. But the other details that I don't fill in, I correlate them with a day in the month, and then depending on how I feel that day, I will color it in with the corresponding marker, and I do put a little key at the bottom of the page for each color and which mood it means. And yeah, I just thought it'd be a fun way to do a mood tracker. And also, I don't really do mood trackers. I have occasionally thrown them in just to try them out. And I feel like, especially where March is definitely a month where I feel pretty slumpy. And like I was saying earlier, like I'm not always feeling my best or most creative. I think I want to be kind of staying on top of my moods and how I'm feeling throughout the month of March and just make sure that I'm taking care of myself. So it seemed like a good month to include a mood tracker. And who knows, maybe I'll continue to include them in the future, but we'll see how it goes this month. And now moving on, I am doing the playlist page, which I kind of decided to keep pretty empty just so I can kind of fill it in depending on how I feel like at the end of the month, depending on how many songs or albums I listen to throughout the month of March. I can kind of add everything like appropriately and spaced out in a way that makes sense. But I just wrote playlist up at the top, added a couple of butterflies, of course, to the page just to make it a little bit more exciting, bring the theme into the page. But yeah, I kept it pretty simple, like I said. And now we're moving on to one of my weekly spreads for the month of March. I set all of my weekly spreads up in the same layout, but it's a different layout than what I typically do. So once again, trying to branch out, like I said this year with my bullet journal. And so setting up my weekly spreads in a little bit of a different format, I think is a good way to experiment. I mean, I do feel like there are only so many ways you can split a page up into the different days of the week while also keeping it functional, but I did do it differently this month, so I'm proud of myself. But also this isn't that different. I typically, when I've done weekly spreads in the past, a lot of the layouts that I tend to go back to, it's kind of 2 across and 3 rows down, but this month I decided to do 2 rows and 3 boxes across for the days of the week. I don't know, it's not a big difference, but it's enough of a difference where it makes me excited to fill out my weekly spreads, and it's enough that it makes it feel a little bit different, it feels a little bit more creative, so I'm excited to use my weekly spreads this month. I also start all of my weekly spreads on Mondays and ends on Sundays. So like the first weekly spread for the month of March, I have the last couple of days of February. And in this final weekly spread for the month, I have the first couple of days of April. This is what just makes the most sense to me in my brain, but also it keeps all of the weekly spreads across every single month in my bullet journal look cohesive and the same. And this month, it just so happened that there were 5 weekly spreads that I needed to create for the month. So this left me with an empty kind of extra page at the end of the monthly spreads. So I got to do a quote page, which is always very fun. It's not something that I do every month. Realistically, I could, because I could put it next to like the cover page. It really could be something I do every month, but I don't know. I don't know why I don't do them more, but it is fun to include them at the end of the month when I happen to have like an uneven amount of pages within the month. I don't love the idea of starting like my April spreads when you can still see the March spreads on the other side. I don't know why it bothers me, so I always just do a quote page to kind of wrap up the month if there's an uneven amount of pages. So the quote page I kept pretty simple, just again drew a couple of different butterflies and wrote the quote, "Give yourself time," because with butterflies, they grow, from a cocoon. It takes them a little bit and then they become beautiful butterflies. I don't know. I thought it was a sweet quote and very much applied to the butterfly theme. But that is it. Those are all of my spreads for the month of March in my bullet journal. So here's a flip through of how they all turned out. So I'm pretty happy with this month's theme, not only because I finally didn't do a very green theme in the month of March, I finally did something different, but also I did some new things within my spreads this month, a new kind of layout for my weekly spreads, as well as including a mood tracker, which I don't normally do. So I'm excited to continue to experiment and try new things in my bullet journal this year. But if you all have a journal, I would love to know what monthly theme you decide to go with this month. But that is going to be it for my bullet journal setup for the month of March. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.